for those of you who know how the number thing, it's like when you get to the number 10.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really a 1 going through a 0.
Right.
And now you got the 10, so-called, but it's presenting an 11,
Right.
which is a
Right.
whole nother phases of ones.
Starting
So you just keep
Exactly.
getting to the 0 point, and then you start a new phases of ones.
Right.
Or it
Exactly.
might be 2s or 3s,
Right.
but they all are just ones, having different shapes and forms to create bigger and greater numbers.
Right.
Gotcha.
So when we look back at this story that Malak used as an example, we see that
Yeah.
the Christ was back at his starting point a couple of times during this story, but
Still on the path.
we don't. Right. I mean, the crucifixion made him question his whole entire existence,
Right.
which it would for a human. You know, for those who believe that it was an actual human man, you know, for the sake of that story, for those because I know it's some out there that he not a real person. That's not the point of what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
The point of what I'm saying is the crucifixion made him question everything that he had put. It's about my father. It's my nails hit him. You forsaken me, dude. You done left me up here.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's like,
Yeah. Right.
and after the burial, I think, which was a symbolic representation.
Talking about the veil?
No,
No, the burial.
the burial.
When they put him in the tomb.
When they put him in the tomb.
Sepulcher.
Gotcha.
Now that is the ultimate
Right.
Christ.
Right.
And then after that, he ascended and left messages with his followers that, you know, because, you know, the whole time he was telling them, look, y'all can be like me. Y'all keep
Right.
asking me about
Right.
asking me about this. Peter, let me show you something. Come on out here on the water and stand.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So Peter was at his highest point at that moment, but then he doubted. Then he went back down on his cycle again. Right. So when we look at the stories, we keep seeing the stories of the development of how we were presented, of light and dark, or light and shadows, or lower selves and higher selves, but it wasn't just him that was the high point. The way it's viewed today is, okay, I want to be Christ-like.
Right.
Okay,
Dude.
well, in saying that, you should know that
You have
you're
to
going to
take
go
on
through
that.
some shadow.
Right.
Right.
And you have to accept that shadow and put it away and don't be that. And constantly,
See what you talking about?
constant elevation. Ain't that what they say? Constant
Yeah.
elevation.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something. You know what you're talking about is
Causes expansion.
Right.
we're
Well,
we're
it's something.
we're taking a position that is opposite of a widespread of philosophy, which would consider themselves enlightened.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
As opposed to, you know, when you capture this idea, right? You know, you grab a realization that, like, yo, man, like I'm still working. I'm still working through the journey.
Right.
Okay. A thought that got me was, even when he talked about the crucifixion. A lot of people don't understand the archetypical symbologies in just the crucifixion and being between two opinions.
Two opinions, right.
Two opinions. The one that's like, oh, if you're God, let me see you get yourself down from there, and on all these different things. And then there's the one like, if you truly are God, you know, I want to save a place for me in the kingdom, or whatever the words were. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have the duality, and then you have the middle path.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's seeing in these, as we say, holy texts or holy writings or sacred writings, it's seeing the different levels of conscious understandings that could be grasped from them. Because somebody that's very, well, this is how it reads and this is how you should be saying it. Well, no, you say that.
Right.
I'm gonna speak what I get from it, because isn't it for me as well as it is for you
Right.
at the level of consciousness that you are at?
And peep this, right? Where did it take place? What was the name of that mountain?
Golgotha,
Golgotha.
in the skull.
In the skull.
Let's think.
Right.
And nothing that we say, it's funny because let me look at the camera when I say this. It's funny because people talk about, oh, that's some new age stuff. No, this is ancient stuff.
It's ancient. Right.
That
Come
keeps
on.
coming back in cycles in different religions and theologies and so on and so forth. It's certain. I can't remember his name. I just was looking at him the other day. Was it Uranus? Certain church bishops were saying things that are resurfacing now, or we say it's resurfacing, but it's been out for centuries.
Right.
It's Christianity's been around before Christ that we know.
And we also can gather from the Bible, right? If we believe it in the way that that most people think that is written, there's nothing new here.
Right.
No.
Nothing.
It says nothing's new under the sun.
Nothing. Right? Nothing is
Play
new.
of forms.
Just
Just
different
a play
plays
of forms. It takes
Right.
a different story, uses a different character, but it's still the same message.
Same thing.
Same message.
Go ahead.
To the one.
Right. And I think that we are in a special epoch, right? Just as far as how things look, and what's relevant for a collective consciousness that's in the earth right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think the message is going to take the form of that consciousness that best suits an awakening.
Right. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever,
For
right.
somebody, it might be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Facts.
You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, what we're talking about right now is a nightmare for somebody.
It could be.
Oh man, those brothers has gone off.
They off.
And that's
They
that's
ain't reading.
All praises.
All praises, my
and,
brother.
and
You're
that's
right.
and that's okay.
Yes, because it's part of our development.
Part of our
Yes.
development.
We need it.
Exactly.
We don't need one. We don't need just all positive opinion.
Right, because we will have nothing to gauge development.
Right. Exactly.
And this is what, and see, people take accepting your shadow self as demonic. Talking to the mic. But it's more of just being aware with nature that there's light and darkness. And the light, understanding that the light is the source. Once you understand that the light is the source, you don't have a problem saying, oh, that's my shadow over there.
All right. Come on.
I know that's me. That's a reflection of me.
Man.
Yeah.
That's over there.
Right.
And depending on your position with the light depends on how intense the shadow is. Sometimes it's two shadows. Sometimes you cast two shadows depending on your position with artificial and natural light.
Right.
So that's a whole nother concept, artificial light.
Right.
But it's all for the development. So once you become accustomed with the fact that you're going to cast shadow,
Yeah.
you understand that, as my people used to say, I ain't gonna say that. I'll leave it. I'll say it in a nice way. It's like everybody got opinions. I'll say it
Right.
like that.
Yeah,
Oh.
I know what you're saying. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Every man put their pants on one leg at a time. Same way.
If they got legs.
Right. No disrespect to
Right.
those who don't.
Right. Yeah. What's that look, Malak?
Hey, nah, I mean the conversation is good.
I mean,
It's good. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's good because if we take like something we was talking about earlier, like a landmark decision that kind of came and it was entered into the earth or whatever.
Right.
We were talking about affirmative action earlier,
Right.
Oh, okay.
and basically the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in certain institutions.
This is recent.
Yeah.
This is a couple days ago.
Okay.
a few days ago, right?
Oh, I think I saw something about that with the was it entering the armed service can be was it citizenship or nationality can be looked at in determining entering the armed services? I seen something on
Well,
that.
it
But I didn't know it was pertaining to in the big picture. But
so at first, like, you know, people couldn't use certain demographics as a means to say you cannot,
right.
right? Few days ago, now that's overturned. Now
It's gone.
you know, that it's okay to do that now,
Okay.
Right.
right? And there's a lot, you know, that's tied around that decision for people. But you know, as we kind of talked about it and started unpacking it, it's like, okay, well, what's the relevancy of that decision, right? And how does it coincide in some form of a spiritual awakening for people? You know what I mean? Because anytime anything happens at that level, to that
Right.
degree, right? There's more to unpack than just the decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's gonna. I think that it's gonna engineer two distinct thought forms. Somebody must be here. You know, and we could probably talk about that later, right? But the bottom line is that you have a certain sphere of awareness, right? That's going to motivate a certain type of thinking.
Right.
It's going to initiate, or it's going to be a catalyst based on, you know, wherever you are in your journey.
Right.
Oh,
Like you
okay.
said, initiation.
And it's a
Right.
path of an initiate.
It's been happening. Yeah, it's been happening forever.
It's going to
You go-
continue.
Right. Somebody said something today. Let's take it back to 2001 with the towers.
The who?
With the towers coming down.
Oh,
Towers.
Twin Towers. Got
Right.
it.
When towers coming down.
Right. Initiation.
That changed a lot.
They changed the world.
That
Exactly.
changed the world.
Changed
Yes.
the world.
Yeah, consciousness shifted
Exactly.
big time.
And then we can go on to
COVID. It changed, shift the consciousness of the world.
Right. And then there's a lot of sprinklings in between.
in between, right.
between there. Because it's going to trickle down. Those were things that were more, let's say, national.
Yeah.
COVID was international. But in between there, we have our own personal things that switches our ways of thinking. Mine was genealogy. You know, everybody's looking for who they are. You know, right now, if you find out exactly who you are as a people, trust me, it will change your thinking immediately.
Immediate.
You start to question everything. Like, how I've been doing for the last 20 years.
Right.
And then you might change it just to fall right back to where you were before you found out.
And you know, that's kind of what I'm echoing with, you know, what we found out a few days ago.
Right.
Right. These elements that if you lean on them in the material sense, in terms of like what that can provide for you materially,
Right.
you know, as you being somebody who's very much so affixed to an earthly expression, right?